This one's for you, Cameron. The Ghost in Apartment 2R by Dennis Markle. Chapter 1. The Great Injustice That Is Happening to Me. Okay, in the grand scheme of things, as my favorite history teacher, Mr. Nordstrom, likes to say, maybe it's not a great injustice. Or as my dad likes to remind me, do you know how many kids would kill to be in your situation? Because this is really just about a closet, which wouldn't be such a big deal, except it's where I sleep. So yes, there are kids much worse off than I am, and I totally get that. But for a normal 13-year-old kid living in Brooklyn, that what happened to me is, I think anyone would agree, a pretty big miscarriage of justice. Not like being enslaved or made to feel like a second-class citizens or anything. Well, that's not true. I do feel like a second-class citizen, at least in my family nest. We've lived in what is referred to as a two-bedroom apartment since there are two bedrooms, which seems like a stupid detail, but it's actually a major part of the story. Because I have an older brother and a set of parents, one of each sex. I only mention this because my friend Kyle has two moms, and I want to be fair, which means two bedrooms for four people. Now, in a typical family, I would share a bedroom with Jake. That's my brother's name. But since we're 6 years apart, it was decided I was a whining little kid, that me being in there would be a distraction from Jake's studying. And then he was a teenager. And then it was really important that he have his own room. Because, you'll understand when you get older. Well, I am older now and a brand new teenager myself. And nobody is saying that I need to have my own room. Okay, I do have my own room, kind of. I was told to stay in my parents' room. They took a closet near the front door and turned it into a room. I mean, it's a nice closet as closets go, with a sliding door and shelves and room for a small futon. So that's my room. And please do not make any Harry Potter jokes because I've heard them all. I remember when I was in the first grade and friends would come over and think it was neat because they would have normal rooms and mine was different. Or they had normal families and shared a room with siblings. You're so lucky, they would say. Yeah, lucky me, sleeping in a closet. You might think that this is the injustice I'm talking about. But honestly, I didn't mind it. Because of a promise my father and mother made to me that when I get big enough to start complaining about the situation. The promise was that I would get Jake's room right after he went to college, which seemed totally fair. And Jake was cool with it too. It's our parents who made the decision that totally ruined my life and changed everything. Because in my moral universe, a promise is a promise, not something you can take back because it's inconvenient. My dad said that there's a difference between never and not right now. But I think that's garbage. Basically, what happened was that Jake got to go to Cornell University, which is an amazing thing, and was his first choice school. And he totally deserves to go. But Cornell found out is unbelievably expensive, and we just don't have that kind of money. Jake got a scholarship. I guess all of that studying paid off. So I thought everything was fine until the day after we dropped him off at school. It was late August, and I still couldn't believe I was finally going to have a real room to myself. I was thinking about how weird it would be not to have Jake around when my parents knocked on my closet door. I hear my dad clearing his throat then. We need to talk to you. Chapter 2. Life's not fair. Like I don't know that. I'm willing to bet in the life of a 13-year-old boy, and girl too, probably, but I wouldn't know because I'm not a girl. There are few words as chilling as, we need to talk with you, when it's said by your parents. Immediately, you start going down the checklist in your head of all the things you might have done or not done. Okay, school hasn't started, so it's not about the grades. And I haven't shoplifted anything or broken anything or left the top of the peanut butter jar off or not screwed on. So the next person who picks it up would drop it on the floor, making a mess. I ask you, who picks up a jar from the lid? Is that really my fault? But from the expressions on their faces, it's not a you did something wrong situation. It's a we've got a bad news one. They ushered me into the living room and sit me on the couch between them. This is bad. Somebody has died or they're getting a divorce. My armpits are pretty drenched by now, and I don't even know how bad it is. First of all, my dad says, nobody's died. And we're not thinking of getting a divorce or anything, my mom adds. It's nothing like that. They hug me. Already with the hugging. Whatever it is, it's not going to be good. So what's the problem? I asked. My mom is a social worker and she has a way of talking. Like just now when she says, well, it's not really a problem if you look at it in the right way. At this point, she stops talking and even seems to take great interest in a stain on the couch. She doesn't even look at my dad when she says, Martin, please. Okay, my dad begins. You remember when your mom and Jake went on a tour of colleges? Sure, I say. Mom and Jake took a bus through Massachusetts and Connecticut and upstate New York. Do you know how we were able to afford that trip? Sure. It was going to cost too much money to stay in the hotels, and then one of Jake's friends' mom told mom about Air Hotel, where people rent out rooms and sometimes whole apartments to visiting people in their city or town. Mom jumps back in. It was cool. And you know what? Air Hotel is in Brooklyn too. My mouth dries up. I can see where this conversation is going, and I don't really like it. Dad quickly adds, you know how expensive it's going to be to send Jake to Cornell? But he has a scholarship, I protest. That's a huge help, Mom said, but it doesn't take care of everything. Plus, it gets really cold up there, so he's going to need a good parka. My dad shoots her a look. This isn't about the parka, Maureen. Please. I was just saying. What are you just saying? I asked, knowing perfectly well what they were saying, but I want to force them to actually say it. This is something we want to try. It might not work out, but it could help bring in some really extra needed money, my dad said. Okay, nobody else wanted to say it out loud. What you're saying is that you want to rent out Jake's room instead of giving it to me like you promised. I'm very proud of myself that I got all of that out without yelling. My mom puts her arms around me, which only makes it worse. My world is completely ruined. We don't want to, sweetheart. We have to. Hopefully it's temporary, my dad says. I have that grant money coming, and then I can finish the film, and that's going to take forever, I moan. My mother stiffens. That's not nice, Danny. My dad bites his lip. It was a low blow. He's been trying to finish the film for 4 years now. He didn't exactly see him working as a freelance video editor when he finished film school all those years ago. I turned to him. I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't mean it. It's just that a promise is a promise. And you promised me. I've waited years and years, and now I'll never get my own room. Okay, this time I can't get the whole sentence out without yelling. I stomped off to my closet and tried to slam the sliding door. You know where kids who have it who have it a whole lot worse than you. You know, there are kids who have it a whole lot worse than you, my dad calls out. Not now, Marty, my mom says. And even though I can't see her, I'm sure she's rolling her eyes. Chapter 3. What's so special about Jake going to the bathroom? I don't think it's just the room I was mad about. The thing is, this whole past year has kind of been all about Jake studying for his test, Jake going on trips with mom, which started this whole mess, Jake writing his college application essay with help from dad, who basically read a whole bunch of books like How to Write a Perfect College Essay. Jake hogging the PlayStation and mom saying, honey, Jake is working very hard. He needs time to relax. So why can't he play with me? I asked again and again. Because he likes playing with his friends online, Mom said. And if she knew what she was talking about, all she was doing was repeating what Jake told her when she asked him why he wouldn't play with his little brother. Then he takes the PlayStation with him to college. I thought it was a Hanukkah present for both of us when we got it, but I guess I was wrong. And he got a new laptop from our grandparents because he'll need it for college. I got a gift card from a local bookstore. Yay! I don't want to give permission to Jake and the impression that Jake is a jerk, because he isn't. He's a great guy and he's really nice to me, usually. I love my brother, but I was definitely super psyched for my actual, not a closet, bedroom moment. So after we dropped Jake off at college, I was ready to be the center of attention for once in my life. And now my parents pull this on me. Did they expect that I'd just go, hey, that's great, no problem. I'll just live in my closet and totally forget you promised me that I'd get that room? And hey, no hard feelings about all the money going towards Jake education, because clearly I'm not as smart. And so what's the point of saving up to help me go to college? I should mention that in all honesty, I actually did say that to my folks, perhaps with a tone with slightly sarcastic, but I don't think it's warranted them acting like I was some sort of ungrateful dirtbag. Just ask your brother, my dad said laughingly. He was so mad when we had you. All we talked about was the baby. I was ready for this. I happened to have overheard you on the phone with Uncle Arthur when you said how different it was going to be with the second child, Mom. You said you kept a journal every day for Jake, writing down everything he did. But by the time I came around, you barely wrote anything. Mom takes a deep breath. It wasn't because we loved him more. It was just because I was going for my master's when you were born and didn't have time. And what's your excuse, Dad? I said. You took like 100 videos of Jake as a baby, eating, puking, going to the bathroom, and like 4 of me, usually with Jake holding me. I'm not going to get into an argument about us loving your brother more, my dad says evenly. That's ridiculous. You just need time to adjust to the new reality. There's nothing new about this reality. They just love my brother more. Chapter 4. Finish this sentence. My life stinks now because... So now instead of everything revolving around Jake, it's all about Air Hotel and making the room perfect to attract guests. My mom spends every night looking into other listings in our neighborhood to see which ones are getting the most views and which months seem to have the most bookings. Of course, the holidays are very popular and summertime. But we don't have air conditioning, so there's a whole discussion about getting a small air conditioner. But it's decided that they'll hold off until the spring, when they should know if people are actually going to stay with us. How would you fill in this blank? My mother is reading off a website set up to help air hotel hosts make their spaces or rooms or apartments are called enticing. Guests should stay at my place first and foremost because my dad looks up from the bar mitzvah video he's editing at his workstation. Okay, it's really just a laptop attached to a monitor and keyboard. But since he can't afford to rent office space, we call it his workstation. And he's editing some kind of bar mitzvah video because the parents are loaded and they hired him to shoot it and make a fancy montage of everything. No, this isn't my dad's dream job. When he graduated from film school, his advisor told him that he was going to be the next Steven Spielberg. I don't like to think about it too much because even though he says annoying things to me and gets all bent out of shape when I don't remember to clear the table or something, I know he just wasn't as lucky as some of his classmates. But he keeps at it, which is either really brave or really pathetic. I haven't figured it out yet. It's really true that they need the money, so I play along. Could you repeat the question? My dad asks. Guests should stay at my place first and foremost because my dad takes off his glasses and rubs his eyes. They will have a true Brooklyn experience in a warm family atmosphere. My mother scrunches up her face. It's good, but I was thinking it's quiet and ideally located. She types in both. Any other questions? I ask. My space is specifically suited to people who think promises are things that you don't have to keep, I suggest. Ha ha ha, my mom says. I'm serious. I get up and head to my closet. So am I. I pass my dad's screen. There's a scene with disco lights, a smoke machine, and people who look like they were in their 20s dancing with kids. Who are those guys? I asked. Those are entertainers hired by the parents to dance with the kids to make everyone feel like it's a party. My dad responds. That's their job? I asked. Yep. And they earn a lot of money doing it. Now the camera is panning across the room. There's an entire sushi bar set up, a hot dog stand, and a burger station. I let out a low whistle. How much do you think that whole thing cost? My dad shakes his hand. Gotta be at least 40 grand. The dad is an investment banker. That's almost what it would have cost to send Jake to Cornell for a year without financial aid. In case I didn't mention it, I go to public school. When my friends are bar mitzvahed, there's usually a really nice party at their home. My mother is not happy. Could you guys please help me here? She grouses. I'm sorry, my dad said. Tell me again. My space is specifically suited to couples and people visiting the city on college tours or anyone who wants a true taste of Brooklyn, my dad offers. My mom nods. That's really good. See, you have good ideas too. That's a lot better than what I came up with. I know my mom so well. This is her way of getting dad to engage. I guess that's what makes her a good wife. I wish she was a good mom. Well, to me at least. That's probably totally unfair. And she'd be very hurt if she heard me say that. So I don't say it out loud, of course. But I do feel it. Mom moves on. Oh dear, it says the room really needs to be uncluttered and simple looking if we want good reviews. I think we have some shopping to do. I see my dad's shoulders tense. Mom has pulled up the IKEA website. That's where we get most of our furniture. And looking at the photos on the Air Hotel website, we're not alone. She walks into Jake's old room and starts making a list. Remember, we're on a budget, my father calls from his workstation. Next stop, IKEA. The Magic Kingdom of Brooklyn Bedrooms. Chapter 5. One big melting pot with Swedish meatballs. When most families go to IKEA, they pile up in the car and head over. For us, it's not so easy. We don't own a car, so we borrow my grandparents from out in the suburbs. It's not too far to drive to IKEA. We find a space in the garage and head upstairs. I love IKEA. The little fake rooms with all those perfect accessories and cool prints on the wall. I would love to live there. But today is different. Since we're here to decorate the room that was supposed to be mine, I guess all Jake's worldly possessions are going somewhere else. We're even getting a brand new bed because his is kind of beat up. I can't help myself. So if we have money to buy all this stuff, I said, why do we need to rent the room? My mother bends down. Danny, she says, I guess I should mention that my folks are kind of tall, and Jake is too. I still haven't hit my growth spurt, so the doctor said at my last checkup. Maybe I'll always be short. Anyhow, my mom is a lot taller than I am, so she has to bend over to look me straight into the eyes. This is going on our credit card, and we're just hoping that the people who stay will pay enough. I pick up a drinking glass that looks expensive, but it only costs $1.99. So you're gambling? My dad is putting 6 of the $1.99 glasses in our cart. No, it's an investment. We load up on everything the Air Hotel site said we needed for good reviews from our guests, even the stuff that isn't for the bedroom. A fabric shower curtain with a liner, a cute area rug, a new toilet seat, really? A framed print of something abstract and Swedish, and new silverware. We can get the hairdryer at the drugstore, Mom says. What the heck do we need a hairdryer for? I was reading on the website about a guy who had 4 girls staying at his house, and he didn't have one. These are the little things people care about. I kind of stopped listening after 4 girls stayed at his house part. I can't imagine a weirder situation than sharing our apartment with 4 girls. So you're saying that we could have 4 girls? I begin. Don't be ridiculous, my dad says. Phew. Maybe 2 or 3 at the most, if one sleeps on the couch in the living room, he adds. I'm hating this more and more. We get all the numbers for the beds and new nightstands. We're even getting new desks. These are the large things that have to be picked up downstairs. Before we leave, we go to the restaurant to have lunch. This is always my favorite part of visiting the Brooklyn IKEA. It's a little picture of Brooklyn with all the people from different cultures eating together. You'll see Jamaican family with a baby, and next to them, a Chinese family with 4 older girls and a boy. And over there, an Indian family buying stuff for their daughter to go to college. Yes, I'm nosy and look into other people's carts. There's a pair of newlyweds, the cliche Midwestern couple. You can hear like a dozen different languages, but everyone is saying the same thing. Cranky babies are the same in any language. Tired parents snapping at each other don't need a translation. When newlyweds start bickering about which end table to buy, I see parents in a group exchange knowing smiles. I order the same thing every time. Swedish meatballs with mashed potatoes. I see it on trays all around the room. All of us from practically every country on the globe eating Swedish meatballs. That's Brooklyn for you. I mean, there are plenty of neighborhoods in Brooklyn where you'll see only one ethnic group or another. But when we get together in one place, somehow we all get along. Well, everyone except my mom. She orders a salad because she thinks it's healthier and feels the need to say it out loud every time. I guess that's another Brooklyn for you, the annoying one. It's a little weird not to be here without Jake, but not being talking about him and college and everything. But mom is too busy making sure she's got everything on her checklist, and dad is worrying about the traffic going back. We get everything we need into the car and head home. The bed is alone. The bed alone is really heavy, even though it's in pieces. So dad arranged for the super to help bring it upstairs to our apartment. When I say our super, it sounds like he's our personal superhero. But in a way, he is. But he's really just the superintendent of the building, which means anything goes wrong in the apartment, he's the one to call. Gabrielle is really a cool guy. Even though my dad didn't ask, he's brought his tools. He knows my dad isn't the greatest at building things. Like I said, our personal superhero. Mom and I started unpacking new stuff for the kitchen. She looks at her list. She loves lists. I don't think anything gives her as much joy as crossing stuff off a list. I think she makes lists sometimes just to be able to cross stuff off. We need to make an appointment with the photographer, she said to herself. Why can't we just take the pictures ourselves? Well, we could. Some people do. But these people do it for a living. They know how to make the room look bigger. They have all these tricks to make it look as nice as possible. Sounds expensive, I said. Actually, Air Hotel provides it for free, my mom says. Great. Some guy is going to come over and come over and make the place look perfect for the group of girls to come stay with us. I wish you wouldn't fixate on that girl thing. I never should have mentioned it. My mom is sounding irritated, not at herself, at me. I walked by the room that should have been mine, and I see Gabrielle and my dad are assembling the bed frame. All of a sudden, I stand in the door. A chill comes over me, like there's a drop in temperature, like someone just turned on the air conditioner. But like I mentioned, we haven't gotten one yet, and it's early September. I rub my arms. Did you feel that? My dad doesn't look up from holding the frame in place so Gabrielle can tighten the nuts and holding it together. Feel what? I got cold all of a sudden, I say. Gabriel is drenched in sweat. He rubs his t-shirt sleeve against his forehead and laughs. Not here, man. If you got some cold air, I'd wish you'd share it with me. My mom calls from the kitchen. Are you okay? Do you think you're coming down with something? I can take your temperature. I stepped out of the doorway, and I'm hot again. No, I'm okay. Guess I just imagined it, but I didn't. It was like the doorway was a different temperature from the rest of the bed.